We'll just wait for a minute more and then we'll start. All right, we'll start and then others can join in. Right. So in the previous session, what we did was we covered VLOOKUP and the versions of VLOOKUP. We also looked at what if analysis, and we also looked at regression and forecasting using regression. Right. Anyone has any doubts regarding anything that we've done till now? Anyone who is not sure about any of the formulas or any of the things that we've done before we move ahead? All right. Since we were covering up regression, there is one more way, in fact, a couple of ways in which you can still get the regression formula. All right. So one is, if you don't want the formula and you want forecast, you can just build this function and it will work. Okay. You don't need the formula. If you need the formula, you can pick up a chart, X and Y scatter chart. You can draw the linear line and you can get the formula. Another way to get the formula is you can build a formula called a slope to get this 1.6239. Again, if you see in slope, it is asking you for known y's and known x's, which is what we had also for forecast formula, known y's and known x's. All right. So in fact, wherever you'll find known y's and known x's, you can think about regression. Known y's is this, known x is this, all the original data only. And you will get the slope of the line, regression line. Try this, everyone. Slope, y is known axis, y is the dependent, x is the independent variable. Once you get the slope, get the constant, there's a formula that is intercept. Again, known y is known axis. You can build the same thing in the formula and you'll get a constant. Try this, everyone. All of you got slope and intercept?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now we'll try the data analysis tool pack. Within that also there is regression. So what I want all of you is to check whether you have solver and data analysis in the data tab. Okay, if you've used this before, I'm sure this will be there. If anyone does not have it, tell me, I'll help you out to get this. In the data tab, just check whether you have this analysis tab, solver and data analysis. data analysis, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Just click on this, find regression. And the only reason of doing this is other than regression, you'll get a lot of other things. Okay, and there's something called as residuals, which can be important in your analysis. So I'll focus on that in this part. Okay, I want you to go to regression. Within regression, it's going to ask you for input y range, input x range, which is nothing but known y's and known x's. Now in this, you can select the header also. So known y's is sales. Known x's is the online advertisement. And if you've selected the header, you can click on labels. If you've not selected the headers, don't click on labels. Confidence level, by default, it is at 95, which is okay. But if you wanted to change it, you can just click on this and then change this. Okay, constant is 0. 0 is basically where you want the constant to be 0 and not the 11,000 that we have. Right, so we don't want this as of now. Output range, you can select any blank cell. Now select a cell after which, so the cells below it as well as towards the right of it does not have a lot of values, right? Because this will give you a lot of data. So select an output range where everything surrounding it is blank. And then I wanted to click on residues. Okay. So Y range, X range, labels, output range, residues. These are the 5 things that you're supposed to do. Try this, everyone. Once you press OK, you're going to get a lot of things. Okay, I'll quickly explain you few things. For example, multiple R is nothing but your correlation. R square is nothing but correlation squared. We've looked at these two numbers. Observations is 12. Standard error we'll discuss. Observations is 12 because there were 12 data points from Jan to December. ANOVA is something that we have a specific example, so we'll discuss at that point of time. Okay. You've got your slope and you've got your constant. Okay. So this is another way for you to get the data. Now, the important part is the residual output here. Okay, so let me explain this part in detail. Now, what Excel does is Excel builds the formula based on the data. Then Excel says, if I apply the formula for all the given online advertisements, okay, which is observations 1 to 12. And the reason why we have 12 observations is because in the original data, we have Jan to December, 12 months, right? So if I apply the formula on the original online advertisement, which is these amounts, what will be the predicted sales based on the linear regression equation? That is how these predicted sales, right? That if online advertisement was 10,000, if I apply this 1.62 x plus 11,000 x, whatever it is, constant, if I apply that formula, then I'm going to get this as the predicted sales. All right. Then residuals is nothing but the difference between the actual sales and the predicted sales. Actual sales is what has already happened, which is this. All right. And predicted sales plus residuals is nothing but actual sales. So actual sales minus your predicted sales is what you're getting as residuals. All right. Actual sales minus predicted sales. So it's telling you that what is the error or what is the difference in your forecasting. Are you guys okay with that? So when you take up 50,000 as your online advertisement and you get a number which is 92,000, you should be aware about that how much is going to be the error in this. Because if you see, not all data points are going to be on the regression line. Yes. So whether it is 2,000 positive negative or it is 10,000 positive negative, both will have a different implication, right? Are you guys okay with that? Yes, no?
Yes.
All right. Now, if you look at the online advertisement part, if you look at the residuals at the start, for the first 5 months, can you see the residuals are very high? So getting residuals, which is on an average around 10,000 plus minus, you have pluses also, you have minus also, on a sales which is 27,000. So if you do a rough calculation of 10,000 divided by 27,000, you're going to get a 37% variance either on positive side or negative side. That means it can be 17,000 sales also, it can be 37,000 sales also. Yes, now that is very big volatility. Yes. If you're supposed to get 8, or if you're supposed to get 8 as your average package or 6 as your average package, and if I tell you 50% ऊपर नीचे हो सकता है, that means you can get 3 also, you can get 9 also. Will you be okay with that? 6 का 9 होगा चलेगा, but 6 का 3 हो गया तो you'll not be okay with that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that is where, sorry, if you look at numbers after June, after May, sorry, you'll find that the variance has come down to around 1,000. Okay, 1,500 to 2,300 is your variance. Okay, so if I take a number which is around 1,700, which is an average of these two numbers, or even if I take a number which is 2,000, and here the predictions, if you look at it, it's around 40, 50,000. All right, so I'm going to take a number which is 50,000 because we have 60,000 also, we have 40,000 also. Now this percentage is acceptable. Comparatively, 4% is acceptable as compared to 40%. Yes. So if you want to predict, ideally, rather than taking all the numbers, it's better that you take numbers from June. Is that fair enough, everyone? Yes, it makes more sense to take data from June to December rather than from January to December, unless there is cyclicity involved in the business. Now that will come from your business understanding. Let's say if the business is, it's very volatile in the first 5 months, which is the winter and the summer season, and when the rains come and suddenly till December, Diwali season and all that, your sales are more stable. In that case, we will run with the same formula. Otherwise, we'll have to change the formula to get in only from data from June to December. Either you can build the formula once again, or you can just drag this down. Okay, and you will get much better correlation and much better forecast comparatively. Are you guys okay with how to look at residuals? Yes?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. So that's the main idea about using regression from your data analysis toolpack. Rest everything you can get without using the data analysis toolpack. Okay. All right. Let's come to this second data also quickly. Okay. All of you had done ANOVA also in your stats class?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me what is ANOVA used for? In which scenario would you use ANOVA rather than using a t-test or an f-test? T-test. Let's take that. No one remembers that?
If we have multiple groups, then we
Completely
will go with
randomized design if the
Yeah. So one is we need some random, not completely randomized, but we need big data where the uh, means are not very well known, right? Second thing is the more important is what someone else mentioned. Sorry, I'm very bad with names and I cannot see your names popping up when you speak. So someone mentioned that we have multiple groups. Yep. All right, that's the main point about ANOVA. The moment you have more than two groups, it's better that you do ANOVA first. Okay, I'll give you the simple logic behind this. Let's say you can do an ANOVA or a t-test. Okay, now if you have to do a t-test, you can do it between two groups only. So let's say we have three groups: finance, marketing, HR. You'll have to do first finance, marketing, then you'll have to do finance, HR, then you'll have to do marketing, HR. You'll have to do it three times. More number of more number of groups, more number of times you will have to do it. Now, what ANOVA does is, and the basic logic for all the hypotheses in this case is a base hypothesis, which is called the null hypothesis, which is the means of all of these groups are similar. Though writing wise we write it is equal, but what we actually mean is similar. Reason is we are looking at with a probability. Okay, 95% confidence level. Okay. Now, what ANOVA does is it can check more than two groups simultaneously. Okay, it is helpful if the means are similar. So if we get from ANOVA, if we get the answer that the means are similar, that means we don't need to do three t-tests. Okay, but if the means are not similar, which is H1 in this case, that at least one of the means is different, then the only way to figure out that which mean is different, we will have to do the t-test and we'll have to do it thrice. So the use of ANOVA, single factor that we are going to use, the basic use of ANOVA is to reduce the work of t-test if the means are similar. Okay, because then t-test will also give you the same answer. Fair enough, everyone? All right. Go to your analysis tool pack, search for ANOVA. Okay. Input range is going to be the entire data, finance, marketing, HR. All right. This is just to give you a idea why we would want to do this study is, let's say you've decided marketing is your specialization, but have you checked what are the average packages that marketing students get as compared to average packages that finance students get as compared to HR and operations? Right? No, you'll have the average package for the entire batch, not specialization wise, right?
Yes.
What if, okay, just for discussion purpose, I don't know the data, but what if the higher packages is skewed towards finance? Okay, and the reason why I'm saying this is because there's always a rivalry between finance and marketing in every college. All right, and the lower packages skewed towards marketing, and that's why you're getting that average. Then you may want to, maybe if someone was on the borderline that I like finance and marketing both, can switch to finance if package or if pay was the main factor deciding. Okay, maybe you also want to find out 5 years after doing MBA, what are the growth prospects? So if you look at salaries of people who passed out from, let's say, your institute, 5 years down the line, how much are they making? So that you can come to see what growth you can get on an average, right? And whether finance is getting more or marketing is getting more or HR is getting more. Then again, you can look at this kind of data. Make sense? Everyone would want to understand growth prospects.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Of course. Problem is this data is never available. Okay. So you will have to do a empirical study. What is empirical study? You will have to go out and find the data. You will have to do the primary study and then you will have to do the analysis. All right. Okay. Coming back to ANOVA. So what we wanted is the input range, which is the entire table, grouped by columns. Each group is in a column. There are labels in the first row because I've selected the 10th row also, which is the labels, and an output range. The output range, you can give any blank cell. Okay, again, like your regression, you're going to get a lot of data. So make sure towards the right and down, there's a lot of blank space. All right. So this labels output range. Once you do that, you can press OK. And you'll get something like this. All of you getting something like this?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, if you want, I can explain you all the details, but I'll give you the crux first, which is how do you identify whether to reject the null hypothesis or not. Okay. So what you're looking at is F greater than F critical. F is this 15, which is greater than F critical, which is this. So whenever you will have F greater than F critical, you reject the null hypothesis. All right. If F was not greater than F critical, F was, let's say, 2, and this is 3.44, then we will accept the null hypothesis. That means means are equal or similar. Fair enough?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, just by looking at the means, which is nothing but averages, right, we can identify that marketing is probably the one that is not similar to the others. All right. But the reason why we can't just calculate the average and tell whether they're similar or not is because we are looking at a 95% confidence level. So there's always variability. Okay. If the data pool was large, maybe within 95%, you will get 48 and 60 and 43 in that 5% range. So 95% confidence mein aa gaya. All right. Because the average was also 2, 3, and 100. If you're looking at across all the professions, then 43, 48, 60 can be similar group. All right. So that is why doing an ANOVA gives you that confidence. And then if one of them is not true, which is the case in this case, then you'll have to do a t-test individually to find out which one is not. So finance and HR will match up. Marketing will not match up with the others. And that is where you come to know that marketing is the outlier. All right. So in this particular case, marketing people are getting higher salaries. So you can rejoice that. Okay. Any doubts in this? Do you want me to explain what is SS, DF, MS, F, these numbers? Or do you want to move ahead?
Go ahead.
Others are okay with that? Sure. Let's come to charts then. Explain you how to make a chart because you've done a lot of charts in the first year, right? So essentially the idea is that I'm going to go through all the options that are available in charts. If you were not sure about any option, you can learn that from here, or you can stop me and I can repeat that process once again. All right, so that you are clear about the basics. All right. So one is you select the data, you insert, and you put up a chart, whichever chart form you like. If you don't like this chart, you want to change it. There's an option called a change chart type. Whenever you will click on the chart, chart tools will open up. Within that, you will find all the options related to charts. So change chart type is here, and then you can select any other chart type and you can make your chart. All right. If you want to get the same option, there is a right click and you will get change chart option also. All right. Then here in the chart design, you have all the different layouts of how you want your chart to look like. You can choose any one based on your preference. Okay. Then there are color schemes that you can choose depending on, again, how you want to showcase your chart. There are quick layouts. Again, how do you want your chart to look like? Right. Now, if you are not okay with any of these options, or after selecting one of the options, you want certain changes. So if you want to change anything on individual basis, then you can go to add chart element. We've already seen add chart element because we had gone to trend line and linear. Okay, of course, linear will not make sense here. Okay. Data is not. You can also go on to this plus sign and you will get all the options that you saw here. Add chart element. Both are the same things. For example, whether you want to see the axis or you don't want to see the axis. Whether you want axis titles or you don't want axis titles. Okay, and where do you want it? Do you want on primary horizontal, which is the bottom one, and do you want primary vertical, which is the left one? So you can write rupees crore there. Chart title, whether you don't want it, you want it above the chart, you want it overlay on the chart. Data labels is the important one to showcase numbers inside the chart. All right. Data table, no one uses, no one wants to show the table inside the chart. We are making the chart so that we don't have to show the table. Yeah, so no one uses this per se. Error bars is when you have standard deviations in your data and when you want to show standard deviations or standard errors. That point of view, you use it. In this chart will not make sense. Grid lines, generally you remove the grid lines. That is how your chart will look neat and cleaner. Okay, generally remove the grid lines. Okay, legend is blue is this, green is this, red is this. Okay, so where do you want to place the legend? And trend lines we've already looked at. Okay, all this is okay. Basic things. Yes. All right. Now let's say there is a new data that has come up. Either it's a new product or a data that was missed from the operations team, or there is a new data because the date has changed. Now you already have a chart. You already designed the chart how you want it to look like. So you don't want to delete the chart and make the chart again. You want to just include this new data in the chart. How do you do that? How do you add data to the chart? I have data. I want to add that data in the chart. Come on, anyone? Pivot table will come in when you make a pivot table, right? Right now I have the chart and I have the data. I want to include this A in the chart. I'm not going to make a pivot table for it. Anyone else? All right. It's very simple. Click on the chart. Can you see this highlighted? Yes, people?
Yes.
Others?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yeah, you can just go to the bottom. When you'll get this black arrow, just drag it down. And data is in the table. All right. Just drag it. Got this, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. There's another option which you will prefer not to use, but you can always go to select data. It will give you this selection and you can always change from here. Okay, but then this is a lot of work. That was easier. Another way that you can do this, and especially when you know that every day new data is going to come in. So every day you don't want to change your graph selection, chart selection. What you do is select the entire table, make sure the entire table is part of the chart. All right, so right now A is part of the chart, then only it will work. Okay, go to home and there's an option called as format as table. Just select any formatting that you like and click on OK. Okay, home tab, format as table. Select any formatting that you like. Color scheme doesn't matter. It's going to give you a pop-up and just do an OK. The reason why it is giving you a pop-up is because it is giving a name to that selection. Can you see table 1 basic charts, which is this sheet, A9 so onwards. All right. So it's giving a name. That is why that pop-up. Now, if you include anything here, Excel will assume this is part of the table, and that is why it's part of the chart also. Try this, everyone. This working? All right, let's come to the next one. Go to this data. Can we make a pie chart out of this? Go to row number 27 and tell me if we can make a pie chart out of this data.
No, sir.
Why not?
So more than one parameter is given.
Yeah. All right. Pie chart can show you only one data point. But right now the table has 2 data points. So it will make a pie chart, but it will make a pie chart only for sales quantity. You'll never be able to see the other data point. Okay. Pie chart will not work. If you wanted to make a donut chart, which is part of a pie chart, then you can make it. Okay. And if you read this donut chart, it will tell you use it instead of a pie chart when there are multiple series that relate to the larger sum. Right? Of course, this data point, explain it in a donut chart is going to get confusing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a normal column chart. Do you think the chart is okay? Do you think the chart is okay? Yes. Anyone?
No, sir.
Why not?
So the sales cannot be seen, like they're very minute.
Sales, this one, red one, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but it's there. So see, if you are comparing a dollar with $1 trillion, that's how you're going to see the chart. Then there is no problem. Okay. If let's say someone gets a package of 2 and someone gets a package of 20, then it's going to look like this only, right? So then that's not a problem. Problem is something else. Anyone else? It's not being visible is not the problem. The problem is sales rupees label as the data label.
Continue.
No, data label is also not a problem. The problem is I cannot show both of the data points on the same axis. Both of them have different units of measurement. One is sales quantity, which is kgs or units, and one is sales rupees crore. Completely different units of measurement, whether it is rupees or rupees crore. Are you guys okay with that?
Yes.
So we need 2 axes to show 2 different data points. Right? Insert a normal column chart like this. Then go to change chart type. And you'll find one last option, which is called a combo chart. Combo chart is nothing but a 2-axis chart. Okay, go to change chart type and combo chart. And put any one of them on the secondary axis, whether sales quantity or sales rupees crore. Are you guys okay with this? Combo chart. Whatever you've selected as secondary axis will come here on the right side. Okay. Now, the reason you have a column and a line, and instead of that you do not have two clustered columns, is because there will be overlap. You'll not be able to see all the data points. That's why most of your combo charts will be a column and a line only. Is that okay, everyone?
Yes.
Right. Any doubts in this before we move ahead? Okay, let's go to the next sheet, which is advanced charts. Now, looking at this, how many axes will we need?
3.
3 axes, right? Can you find any chart type which has 3 axes? In all the options that is given by Excel, any chart type which has 3 axes? Or at least give me options. I can tell you whether it is 3 axis or not. On anyone. Since you guys are not trying, then I will have to give in and I will have to tell you. So if you look at X and Y scatter chart, this is generally 2 axis, X and Y. But if you see, there's an option called as bubble chart, and the size of the bubble is the 3rd axis. So like your X and Y scatter chart, select only the numbers, don't select the headers or the product names, and put a bubble chart. If you hover on bubble chart, you can read this, compare at least 3 sets of values or pairs of data. Okay, and use it when you have a 3rd value that can be used to determine the relative size of the bubble. All of you getting a chart looking like this? Select only the numbers, and then within scatter chart, you will find bubble chart. Try that, everyone. You guys got this?
Yes, sir.
Only one person has got this. What about others?
Yes, sir.
So 2 people out of 112 are doing this right now. All right. Once you get the bubble chart, then you can go to add chart element, data labels, and you can place the data wherever you want. Okay. How to read the bubble chart? First data point, which is sales quantity, will become the x-axis. Second data point, which is sales rupees crore, will become the y-axis, and the third data point, which is the percentage share, will become the bubble size. Okay, it doesn't matter whether the third one is a percentage or not. Whatever third data you give will become the bubble size. Okay. How do you read this? So sales quantity is around 40 odd thousand, little less than that. Sales rupees crore is around 1100 and had the highest market share. If you hover on it, you will come to know. Okay. So let's say instead of figuring it out approximately, I wanted to see the actual data points. If you have this, you can right click on this and go to format data label. And then you can choose X and bubble size also. So by default, it will give you a Y value. Then you can choose your X and bubble size also. Got this? Now, if you select the series name, you should get the products also. Right? See whether you're getting series 1 like me or you're getting the products. You're getting series 1 or you're getting product names. Do you want me to go through the steps once again?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You have a normal bubble chart looking like this. Just add label wherever you want it. Okay. Then right click on the label and go to format data label. And then you can select X, Y bubble size. This much is okay. Right. Now we are not getting the series name. Reason is that, or the product name, reason is that was never part of the selection when we made the chart.
Yes, we are not selected product.
Yeah. All right. Because the moment you select the product, and you guys can try it, your chart will not come properly. Okay. That's the problem with X and Y and bubble charts. You need to select only the numbers. So that's why Excel has started with something called as value from cells. They started in 2013 or 2016. These two versions of Excel. Okay, just click on value from cells. You'll get this pop-up and you can select your product names. Right. Once you do that, you do an OK, you'll get the product names also. Now the question is, why should you make a bubble chart? Okay. So typically, whenever you're doing a competitor analysis, okay. For example, let's say you're doing an FMCG company analysis, all right, and you have quantity at one axis, you have pricing on one axis. Okay, so let's say you're looking at one particular product category. Let's say shampoos, because that's an example that we discussed, Mamaearth. So we'll just continue with the same thing, that you're looking at all the competitors. You're trying to find out that how much quantities do they sell, either monthly basis, quarterly basis, or yearly basis, and what is the prices that they keep of their product. Okay. Now, if you build an X and Y scatter chart of these two data points, you're going to get simple dots. Now, you can't differentiate between these dots saying that this dot is earning you 20,000 or 30,000 revenue, or this dot is earning you 60,000, 70,000 revenue. Or if I would have profitability after sales, I can't distinguish between that, right? So whenever you need a third data point, for example, size of the company is also important. You don't want to take decision basis a company which is only, let's say 1 crore company, as compared to when you're comparing yourself to a 10,000 crore company. If your company is worth, let's say 500 crores, then you do not want to compare a company with a 1 crore turnover, right? You want to compare yourself with a 1,000 crore company, or a 900 crores company, or a 700 crores company. Yes. So only by using that revenue or turnover as a bubble size, you can come to know this company is too small to compare, or this company is too big to compare. We should compare ourselves with this one, whether we were here or whether we were here, right? Those kind of things. Also, it will help you identify the gaps. That company one is, this company is targeting this particular price. These companies are smaller, so their price band is very small. This middle gap is where I can have a play, wherein I can price my product at about 600, 800 rupees, and I can try to achieve this kind of volumes because of that, or any set of volumes that I achieve. It's going to be a no competitor zone if these were the only 4 companies and this was the data, right? There's a company which is achieving a lot of sales, but the price is very small. That is why their turnover size is very small, right? So there will be those cheap products which are still doing good, or old products which are still at the similar price, and people are still buying them, right? Okay, so that is the idea of your bubble charts. Are you guys okay with this?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now we have some HR data, but this can be used for marketing as well, or finance as well. Anyone who comes here with a work experience? You worked previously in a company before doing MBA? Anyone? Sailesh. So Sailesh, when you were leaving that company, did you have an exit interview?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and you probably gave this reason, exit due to further studies.
Yes.
All right. So whenever people, all right, whenever there is turnover in the company, turnover is a word used in HR, which is basically when employees leave. All right. So then we want to find out, generally HRs will take an exit interview to find out why are you leaving and so on and so forth. And these are the typical reasons that will come across, right? Now, they may not mean the same thing that the people are saying. For example, exit due to further studies is okay, but exit due to better opportunities can mean that someone else is paying you nice, or you don't like the boss, that is why you are leaving. Exit due to growth constraints. Again, you're not getting growth in this company and you're getting growth somewhere else, or you don't like the boss. Boss kharab hai. Exit due to personal home issues, definitely boss kharab hai. Exit due to relocation, either you've actually relocated, or what can be the other reason?
Got another offer from different location.
Boss kharab hai. Location to I gave now. One option is either you've actually relocating, or you're saying this so that your boss does not ask you a lot of questions. Okay, because you hate your boss. All right, Sailesh, did you leave your job because?
No, 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 no. My boss is great.
Okay, all right, okay, right. All of you know, right? Majority of the people leave their jobs because of their bosses. Okay, let's come back to this. So now, if I show this table in a normal column chart or a bar chart, it's going to look like this. and it's not going to show any meaningful, it's going to show you the data, but not very meaningful. Reason is you'll not come to know that you started at 1000 and how the movement happened so that you ended up at 870 or 850, right? So whenever you want to show movement between two data points or start and end, okay, let's say start of quarter one and the end of quarter one, how did your revenues performed? Okay, then you should make a waterfall chart. Waterfall chart is this option. Okay, make a waterfall chart. We'll have to do a bit of adjustment after we get the chart. So if you'll see, by default, all the positive numbers are taken as an increase, all the negative numbers as a decrease. So what we want to do is we want to make this 100,000 and 850 as totals. Now to do that, click on 1000 a couple of times so that everything else becomes transparent. And then you can right click on it and you can set as total. Similarly, click on this 850 a couple of times so that everything else becomes transparent. Right click on it, set as total. Right. And that's how you get your waterfall chart. Now you can change the colors if you want. For example, if I want to make this green, I can make this green and I can make these as blue. All right. So that green is positive, blue is decrease, all that is totally up to us. Okay. Just doing a Control Z, coming back to the original thing that you guys will also have. Now, an easy way to read this is you started off at 1000, then you lost 10 people because of exit due to further study. So you're at 990, then you lost another 300. So you're at 690. Then you lost another 140 and you're at 550. You lost another 20, you're at 530. You lost another 50, you're at 470 or 480, sorry. And then 370 people joined in. So you're at 850. Okay. That's how you can look at the waterfall chart. Now think about this. You're working in a company where you are presenting the sales data. Your sales is increased from 1000 to 1400. Now, if you look at only these two numbers, everything is good. There's no problem. Sales is increasing by a decent number. Yes. Marketing guys, everything is going to be about revenues and customers and products.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. But what if there was data that you started off at 1000 crores or 1000 rupees, whatever you want to consider. Okay. 1000 crores is better. But you lost about 200 crores because of churn in customers. Few customers did not order again this year. Whether they did not want the product or they went to the competitor or they went out of business, that is something else. All right. Another 100 people did not, another 100 crores of revenue was lost because you discontinued a product. Okay. You gained new customers, which added 150 crores. All right. You launched a new product, which added another 150 crores. All right. So you're back at 1000 and 400 came because you acquired a company. All right. So now when you'll make a chart looking like this, you will come to know all the reasons why you lost sales also or why you gained sales also. Rather than only talking about 1000 to 1400. That is the importance of waterfall chart, right? Ishan, how to get this is just double click on this or click on this a couple of times so that this becomes, this is active, everything else is transparent. Right click on it and set as total. Now I'm getting clear total because this is already a total. Okay. So 850 as well as 1000, same thing. Right click, set as total.
Okay, okay, sir.
But that set as total will come up only when everything else is transparent.
All right. All right.
Others, are you guys okay with the importance of waterfall chart?
Yes, sir.
Let's go down to the next one. You guys have heard about a Gantt chart? You guys have heard about a Gantt chart?
Yes, sir.
What is a Gantt chart?
So it is the scheduled timeline of like production cycle or something like that.
Yeah, so typically used in project management where you have a project to complete and you have a timeline of different activities in the project, how they are going to complete those activities, right? Now, this is not only applicable in operations because that it starts from there, but it can be applicable to anything which has a deadline and which has different activities. For example, you have new product launch. Okay, so let's say there are a few activities that are lined up and you have these many weeks for each of the activities. All right, now we want to make a Gantt chart. In Excel, there's no direct method to make a Gantt chart. So we'll have to manipulate few options in Excel. So first thing that you want to do is you want to create a table looking like this, where the start time starts from 0, duration comes from this original data, and by default, as of now, the assumption is that the second activity will start after the first activity is done. Okay, so activity 1 starts on the 0th day, takes 2 weeks. Activity 2 will start at the end of 2 weeks and will take another 2 weeks, so 4 weeks khatam ho gaya. Activity 3 will start at the end of 4 weeks and it will take 3 weeks, so 7 weeks will get done, so on and so forth. Okay, then you can select this data and I want you to insert a stacked bar chart. Insert this stacked bar chart. Got this, everyone? Now, if you look at a Gantt chart and if you search for it on the net, you will find that Gantt chart basically shows you only the duration. So it is floating bars, which is where I don't want the start time. Okay, you guys don't do this, but if I delete it, it's not going to look like a Gantt chart. So the way around is this, that you click on the start time. In my case, it is the blue bars. Go to format and change the color of the blue bars to no fill, which is transparent, so that it will look like floating bars. It is still there, just that it is not visible. Shape fill as no fill. Try this, everyone. Got this? Now we are not used to seeing activity 6 to activity 1. We want activity 1 to activity 6. So I want you to right click on the axis. Go to format axis. And somewhere you'll find this categories in reverse order. Just click on that. Right click on the axis, categories in reverse order. Working for all of you?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's come to this last one. You guys have heard about Pareto? Pareto rule? (80-20) rule? Yes, anyone? 80-20 rule?
Yes, sir.
What is that 80-20 rule?
It's that 80% of revenue comes from 20% of the people.
Right. So 80% of the revenues will come from 20% of the customers, or 80% of the complaints will come from 20% of the customers, or 80% of your time goes in 20% of your work. So Pareto rule can be applied to everything in your life, almost everything, right? For example, if I want, I can say that 80% of the responses are coming from 20% of the students. Now, it's not true, because 20% of 100 or more than 100 is about 20 students, and the responses are coming by less than 20 students also, right? But are you getting an idea? What is Pareto rule, everyone? After saying this, can I get 20 responses at least?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
That's 3.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That's 5.
Yes, sir.
That's 6.
Yes, sir.
Now I'll have to beg the way till 20. All right, anyways. So all of you about Pareto rule. Now that you can apply this at a lot of places in your business. For example, let's say if you're working at Good Day. Which company makes Good Day? Are you guys aware?
Britannia.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Britannia. Okay, so let's say you're working at Britannia and you have been assigned to Good Day as a product category, and you find out that this has been the sales for last year for the different product that are available within Good Day, right? All of you know that all these companies come out with new variants based on either their research or their thinking that this is something new that customers will like, or based on what customer preferences. They'll keep on doing market survey. Customer will say, "Nahi, mereko to strawberry chahiye tha," and they'll start strawberry. Of course, customer, when they say mujhe strawberry chahiye tha, does not think that whether they will like strawberry or not. They just put in all their wishes. So whether the sales will actually go through the roof or not, or the sales will actually happen or not, you don't come to know till the time you launch it. Fair enough?
Yes.
So this is the sales. Now, if let's say I want to identify whether the 80-20 rule gets applied to this company, or I want to take up one part, which is 80% of the revenue is coming from what? Remaining 20% of the revenue is coming from how many products, and can I discard a particular product if it's not meaningful? That is something that we can do with this Pareto analysis. All right. So I wanted to just select the entire data. In this histogram option, you will find a second chart, which is called a Pareto chart. Within histogram, you will find an option called as Pareto. All right. You can click on recommended charts also within that histogram, and then second option is Pareto. Either ways. Also getting a chart looking like this.
Yes.
All right. Now let me first explain you how the chart has been built. Okay. What is this Pareto line, the red line that you are able to see? All right. And then we'll discuss. Okay. First thing what Excel does is it takes the entire data and it sorts the data Z2A. Okay, with the names, of course. I'm just doing it with the numbers. So the histograms that you see are this sorted data. Okay, the first one is 33,000. Second one is 31,000. Third one is 28,000. Fourth one is 17,000, so on and so forth. Then it calculates that what will be the total and what will be the weightage or the share of each one of them. Okay, so this is how you're reaching to 100%. And then it does a cumulative calculation to reach to that 100%. Okay, so 25 plus 23 is 48. All these three put together is 70. All these four put together is 83, so on and so forth till the time you get 100. Now the Pareto line is this cumulative percentages. Okay, so with this Pareto line, you can find out that you're reaching that 80% level or more than 80% level on your fourth product. So these first four products are contributing 80% of your sales. Remaining 5 products are contributing about 20% of your sales. Fair enough?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Now, let's say if this was a product, the last one, okay, which is Good Day Wonderful's Berry and Nuts. This is something that you launched probably 1 year back. Then, of course, you'll not say, let us discard this because sales will take time to come, right? All these products are there for years. Okay, but what if, let's say, this particular product, which is contributing, let's say 8% of your sales or something like that, 5% of your sales, okay, has been there for last 10 years. Okay, and because this is Good Day Wonderful's Choco Nut, you need to import a special type of nut, which is done only for this particular product, no other product. And that requires investment, that requires setting up the trade, supply chain, all those things, as well as a dedicated production line is used for this particular product. Now, if you feel as a company that if we discard this product, we're going to lose probably around 3 to 4% of our sales. This one is about 3%. Okay, 4,300 jo value hai, that is about 3%. We're going to lose 3% of our sales. And in doing so, either our competitors will gain that 3% or my other products will cannibalize this. If I remove this from the market, will the customers shift to my other products or will the customers go to my competitor's product? If the answer is your competitor's product, then you may not want to remove this. If the answer is that they will go to your other products, then you can choose to remove this. Fair enough?
Yes.
Also, it's not that simple. You will have to think about people who are working on that line, where you will reshift that. What are the savings versus what are the revenues that you're generating and the profits from this, right? So if you're going to save a lot of money and you can use that for some other businesses and grow that business, then it is okay, right? So a lot of other things will come in. You can identify and then you can do all the other analysis. All right. So those are charts. If anyone has doubts, let me know. Otherwise, we'll move to pivots. Anyone what pivot tables are? What pivot tables do? In 1 or 2 words.
Summarize the entire data.
Sorry.
Summarize the entire data.
Summarize. Okay. So the important word that you need to remember is summarize. Pivot table is nothing else but a summarization tool. We can use it to create dashboards, that is something else. We can use it to analyze the data, that is something else. But what pivot table is doing is nothing but running either SUMIFs or COUNTIFs or AVERAGEIFs or MAXIFs or MINIFs. You know your SUMIFs formula, right? Okay. So then you can get the same result that the pivot table will give you using this formula. Just that you will take a little more time to build the formula, and pivot table will happen within a matter of 3 clicks or something like this. The other thing is you can add or remove data very easily. Okay, so whenever you want to summarize the data, you can use pivot tables. But for that, you need data which is organized, structured in a proper table. A lot of times when you have data like this, which is only this much, now this by itself is such small data that you don't need any summarization tool for this. All right. Or when you have data like this, you don't need a summarization tool for this. All right. So pivot table is only used when you have a large data. It is a structured data and you want to summarize it so that you can look at the short, top overview, and then you can analyze the data. Okay. Now what we are going to do is we're going to build pivot tables. We're going to see few options in pivot tables. Then we'll do a pivot chart, and then we'll see how to create a dashboard using pivot tables. All right. First thing is you can just click inside. First thing is, let me just explain the data. So we have regions, north, south, east, west. We have year from 2019 to 21. We have months. We have the dates. We have invoice number, then the customer list, marketing executives who are selling to these particular customers and billing this invoice number, product that was sold for this particular invoice number, and total we have 5 products. The quantity that was sold in this invoice, the rate that was charged, and sales is nothing but quantity into rate. All right. Now you can just be any one cell inside this table. Go to insert and you will get the option of pivot table. Insert pivot table. Now table range is okay. New worksheet is okay. Sorry, if you wanted to build this pivot table in some existing sheet, then you go to existing worksheet, you go to a particular sheet and you click on a particular cell, and the pivot table will start from there. Okay. As of now, new worksheet is okay. So you don't need to change anything here. Just make sure this is A10 to K1770 and click on OK. All right. Sheet 1 will come up, or any other sheet name will come up. I just want you to rename the sheet to pivot dashboard. Okay. I just want you to rename this to pivot dashboard, and the reason for renaming is later on I want to give a reference of this particular sheet so that everyone has the same name. All right. And that is when we do macros in tomorrow's session. All right. When you click on this, you will get pivot table fields wherein you can drag and drop anything to rows, columns, values. Now, before you start, I wanted to check one thing from you guys. Can you drop a text in values? So can you take regions and drop it to values? Will Excel accept it, give you an answer, or will Excel give you an error? Because it's a text.
Error.
Okay. Anyone else?
It will accept.
And what will it do?
It will give a count total.
Yes. Okay. You can put text also here. No problem. Just that it will give you a count. Can you see this count of region? Okay. So you can put text also. Doesn't matter. Okay. Whenever you will put values, which are numbers, it will always give you a sum by default. But whenever you put a text, it will always give you a count. And there's only one option, which is count, because you cannot do a sum, average, min, or max from text. You can only count the text. With numbers, you can change it to sum, average, min, max. I'll show you all those options. All right. Now let's say this is sales data of P&G. So you're working in P&G. Your boss is the marketing manager or marketing officer. So your boss has come and told you that I wanted to analyze product-wise, region-wise performance. Okay. And essentially the output that your boss requires is something like this. So you can, what you need to do is you just need to pick up regions and drag it to rows. Either you can click on it or you can drag it here. You can take products and you can drag it to columns. If you click on it, it will directly go to rows only. So you will have to drag it. And sales. So take sales and put it to values and you're done. Yeah. Now you can choose to put anything in rows, anything in columns. Regions and products could be interchanged also. Doesn't matter. You can add marketing executives if you want. Doesn't matter. Excel will keep on doing sum ifs. Is this okay to everyone?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Now, let's say you wanted to analyze this data. Okay. Just by looking at the numbers, it becomes a little difficult to see that, you know, which product or which, what do you say, region is giving you the highest sales. If I wanted these numbers as percentages, how can we do that?
Go to the sum values, right click
Okay.
and change type.
And
Value field setting,
okay.
and here is average.
No, here is some count only. I want percentage. Let's say this is the total. I want percentage of the total. Right. Okay. So you close. I don't want you guys to do this step, but there's an option called a show value as. Okay. What you can do is simple step is right click and you'll get an option called show value as. Sorry. Right click, show value as, and you will get these options. Now, typically everyone uses percentage of grand total, column total, row total. So I'll show you all three of them. Let's do row total first. Each row will become 100%. All right. So if I wanted to know that what is the sales contribution of each product to a region's sale. For example, for South, cosmetics is contributing about 15% of total sales of South. Cough drops is contributing about 8% of total sales of South. Right? That is percentage of row total. If we do a column total, each column will become 100%. So this is region contributing to a product category's performance. Cosmetics ka sales may say 36% is coming from West and 21% is coming from each of the other states. Whereas for, let's say, this product, okay, 30% is coming from West, but ointments clear 20% is coming from East and 27% is coming from North. Right? So we can figure out how much is each region contributing to a product's performance. And if we do a right click, show value as percentage of grand total, this will become 100%. And we'll come to know that the cosmetic sales in the Eastern region is contributing 3% to the overall sales. So what is the contribution of each product within each region to the total sales? Are you guys okay with this percentage? Easier to analyze?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's say your company started first in the Western region, and then it expanded to other regions. So West is always the better performing region and is always the benchmark for the company. So you want to compare all the other regions to West. Okay. So right click, show value as, and you have this option, which is percentage off. Percentage off. Now you could have done it either on regions or products. Whatever is there in rows and columns will be given here. And within that, you can choose one of the options. So for example, region in West. Okay, base field, you can pick up anything that will come in rows and columns. So you have regions and products. If you select products, then you can select any one of the products. As of now, region and West. Okay. So West will become 100%. Everything else as a percentage of West. All right. So this is the easy way of benchmarking. Working for all of you? Now let's say we've got the percentages with us. Okay, and I'm just going to revert back to percentage of grand total. Okay. So we've got percentages of everything, but I don't know how much this 10% means in value terms, right? Because values have gone away and percentages have come in. So what if I want to have percentages as well as values? How do we do that? I want to have the value and I want to see the number also, which is rupees. Percentage also, rupees also. How do we do that? Anyone? You take sales and you drag it once more to values. You will get one sales as percentages, which we already had, and we will get the new sales as numbers. Try this, everyone. There's no double counting because everything is coming from the original data. So there's no double counting.
Can you repeat the step?
Just drag sales and drag it to values, nothing else. Because everything is coming from the original data, there's no double counting. That if you have the feeling that, you know, we've taken sales twice, that is not happening. Okay, total amount remains the same because it is coming from the original pivot table sheet. All right, working everyone? So if you wanted to analyze sales in very different ways, for example, percentage of row total bhi karna tha, number bhi chahiye tha, percentage of grand total bhi karna tha, and 3-4 other things, you can drag these sales as many times as you want here. Individually, you can change each of them to whatever you want it. Okay. If you do a right click here, only sum of sales 2 will change. When you do a right click here, only sum of sales will change, right? So you can have different percentages at the same time. You can have percentage and values, whatever you want to choose to do with each of the sales. Is that okay, everyone? Another way to do the same thing is right click, value field settings, and you will get the same option here in show value as. Another way to get value field settings like we've done already is click here and value field settings and you'll get show value as. Okay, but the easiest way is the right click. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to the original data. And if you get a percentage, I want you to remove the percentage, which is right click on this, show value as no calculation. Okay, so that we get back to the original calculation. Right click, show value as, no calculation. Now, instead of, let's say, sales, we had the rate or we had the price. Now, when you want to analyze price, will you do a sum of the price or the average of the price?
Average.
Average, right? So when you want to analyze your package, you're going to do an average of the package. You're not going to do sum of all IBSK students ka package and then you're going to use that number to analyze, right? So which is where if I want to change the sum to an average, we do a right click and there's an option called a summarize value by. And you can do a count or you can do an average. Right click, summarize value by. Okay, summarize value by is there in value field settings also, same options. Is that okay? Yes, no.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I want you to remove the rate and get back to sales so that we have the original data again. And let's say now we wanted to, show this in the graph or something, right? So we can put up a chart. But just before that, let me tell you the problems of pivot table. Example, I had the region, then I had marketing executive, and then I have customers. Now the table by itself has become 100 rows. All right. So do you think this is going to give you a summary or this is going to make it more complicated for you? Right? If you think it's going to make complicated, then it doesn't make sense adding so much of data. All right. So in pivot table, because it's a summarization tool, the less data that you have, the better. That's part one. Okay. So problem one is you can't put in too much of data. So to analyze different things, ideally you make different pivot tables. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right. Second problem with pivot table is equal to, if you let's say click on this and you want to do certain calculations, can you see this problem? Instead of getting a cell reference to this particular cell, I'm getting a lot of names, sales, region is east, product name is ointments. I'm getting that. Now, if I just copy paste this and drag this thinking that formula is going to drag, it's not going to drag. Whether this A3 has $$ or not. Okay. So the problem with pivot tables is that you can't give a cell reference. Okay. The only way to give cell reference is by typing that cell name. So if I'm going to do, let's say E5, then this is going to come as E5. And then when I drag it, then it will work. Okay. So now if I want to do any calculation, it will work. But you can't click on that cell or use your up down arrow keys to go to that cell. You will have to type it. So if I had to do this plus this, again, I can't click on this. It has to be a cell reference that I will have to type, which is F5. Are you guys okay with that? Okay. So if you want to use pivot tables for some other calculations, you will have to do manual cell referencing. That's part one. Or if you know that, it's only this much summary that I wanted, it's better to use SUMIFS as a formula so that all your other calculations can happen normally. All right. The main idea of pivot table is that you are using these things to change a lot of things in pivot table, like we did, right click and percentage and all those things, right? Then we need pivot tables. If you wanted this just as the output, whether you do pivot tables and it happens in 3 seconds, or whether you do a summers which will happen in 2 minutes, not going to make a lot of difference. At least you can do a lot of calculations easily after that, if your objective was doing calculations after it. All right, okay, let's come back to this and let's insert a chart. Now it's not required that you insert a pivot chart, because when you have a pivot table, even if you insert a normal chart, it will come as a pivot chart. What is the difference between the normal chart and the pivot chart? In a normal chart, let me just find a chart option which will give us that. Let's assume this. In the normal chart, you have filter option outside. Okay, wherein I'm filtering and I'm showing you only limited data. In a pivot chart, that filtering option is inside the chart itself. That's the only difference between the normal chart and the pivot chart. Is that okay? Right. But the pivot chart is connected to the entire pivot table. So the moment pivot table changes, all right, the moment your pivot table changes, for example, if I'm going to drag customers and I drop it to rows, your chart will also change. But can you see the chart is not readable anymore? Reason is you have too much of data. That's why in pivot tables, keep limited data. Now, the good part about pivot tables is that there's something called a slicers, which is there in pivot table. So even if you have limited data in the pivot table, if you want to analyze other things, for example, I want to analyze customers or marketing executives or the years and the months that we had, because this is 2 years of data, right? You want to analyze only recent quarter or a particular month. If you want to do all that, you use slicers. Okay. Just be inside your pivot table. Either you can go to insert and you will find slicers here, or you can go to pivot table analyze and you will find slicer here. Either of the two options, you're going to get the same result. Sorry, first thing is you need to click inside the pivot table and then you go to insert slicer or pivot table analyze insert slicer. Once you click on this, you'll get all the options that you had seen in the normal header row. All right, when we are discussing this, I wanted to take year, month, customer name, and marketing executive. These 4 things. Year, month, customer name, marketing executive. Once you do that, you'll have something like this. Now, if you want to present it nicely, then you can click on any of the slicers. Slicer tools will open up and you can change the color scheme. Okay. Okay, and there is the settings. And you can, if you want to change the name or the display, you don't want to display the header, you want to display the header ascending, descending order. All right, so let's say I want to choose descending order. I don't want to display the header. Okay, also hide items with no data. Okay, can you see it has become descending order, header is not there. So I can have this. Okay, and I can just make it that I want 3 columns. And my slicer now looks like this, rather than it looking like this. Okay, so you can play around with the slicer options also so that it looks like a proper dashboard. Just to tell you what I did, I went to the year wala slicer, right click on it and slicer settings. Okay, I removed the display header wala option. I made it descending, which is largest to smallest, and hide items with no data, which is useful here, not useful here. Whether you have it or not doesn't matter. Okay, and then I went to this option and increase the number of columns, which is by default 1 to 3, so that I can see all 3 of them together in one row, because I have 1 row and 3 columns now. Okay, if there were more data points, it would have gone to row 2 and row 3. Fair enough. This editing of slicer.
Yes, sir.
All right, so you can do all this to all your slicers depending on how you want to showcase your slicer. Okay, just to give you an idea, I can choose to remove the borders also, okay, which is part of the slicer settings. For example, new, if I just right click on this, I say I want to modify name. So you'll have to follow a lot of steps, but essentially you duplicate it. Within that, you have the option of formatting everything. All right. And then you make a new type of slicer, which is customized to your requirements. Okay. So you can do a lot of things in terms of formatting also. All right. Now, the idea of the slicer is that when you click on anything, your data is going to change to only that thing. And your chart will also change because your pivot table is changing. Is that happening? Yeah. So this is nothing but filters. Are you guys comfortable with that? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
All right. Slicers is nothing but filters on your pivot table, just that these filters have a better user interface as compared to your normal filters. So it's easier, intuitive. Second thing is that you can essentially slice your data. That's why it is called slicers. You can slice and dice your data so that you can analyze granular things also. For example, I can go particular month and see that how that particular customer ordered, let's say 20 in Feb and 2021 in Feb, whether it's the same product, similar kind of quantities, or it's a completely different product. Why the same product was not done? Why a different product? All right. What happened instead of Feb? What happened in March? Month-wise, how was the change? Why April is not there for this customer? Why did this customer not order in April, right? So we can analyze a lot of data. Just give me one second. All right. Are you guys okay with that? Okay. If you want to select multiple things, for example, if I click on customer 10, I want to analyze Jan, Feb, March. So I click on this, and click on this. How do I select all three? Control and click on each one of them. So you got Q4. Okay. You got Q4 data. Got this? Now, what I want you to do is, I want you to build another pivot table. Put in any type of data, doesn't matter what data you're putting in, put in any type of data and make a chart out of it. Okay. Have that pivot table here somewhere towards the right. in this particular sheet only. Do this, everyone. Right, make a second pivot table. Any data, doesn't matter is the same graph as me or not, and make a chart out of it and put both the charts together, right, so that we can see both of them easily. Done. You guys have this. You guys have a second chart with you. Yes, no. Guys, come on. If you don't respond, I'll not come to know. You guys have a second pivot table with you. All right, the moment you have your second pivot chart, if you'll see, when I click on anything here, only the first chart changes, the second chart does not change, whatever I do. Okay. And the reason for that is the slicers were put up only for the first data point or only for the first pivot table, not for the second one. If I want to make it run for both of them, and that's how we're going to make a dashboard, right? Then what we'll have to do is we'll have to right click on the slicer, report connections, right click on the slicer, report connections, and then you will see the second pivot table that you can connect to. Now you will have to do this manually for all the slicers. Right click, report connections, and click on pivot table 2. Now the reason why you're able to get this pivot table 2 is because both the pivot tables are made exactly from the same data source. And when I say the same data source, that means we're talking about that row number in both the case. The starting point was 810 and the ending point was K1770. If even one row or one column was extra or less, Excel wouldn't have shown you that second pivot table option. All right, so it has to be exactly the same data source, same row number starting, same cell starting, and same cell ending. Once you have connected, now when you will click on this, both the charts will change. Try this, everyone. Right click, report connections. Okay. And one last thing that is there in pivot tables. Other than slicer, you can also have something called the timeline. So you can go to insert and put in a timeline, or you can go to pivot table analyze and you can insert a timeline. Now timeline works only with dates, because in the data sheet we had a column for date where we had actual dates. We can have timeline. If we had like this year and month, then we cannot have timeline. It will work only when we have a date formatting wala column. Now the good part of timeline is that one, it will give you the option whether you want to see it on a year basis, on a quarterly basis, on a monthly basis, or on a day by day basis. Okay, day by day, that means I'll just pick up the 17th day, it will give me 17th day for all the years, right? So let's say we wanted quarters. If we select the quarters, if I select Q4, this will give me data for Q4. So when we have timeline, we don't want year and month wala slicers. This is a better option than having the year wala slicer and the month wala slicer. We can also drag this to have multiple quarters, but it can never give you non-adjusted quarters, give you adjusted quarters only. Also, quarters are calendar year basis, not financial year basis. Okay. Same thing you will have to do in timeline. You will have to do a right click, report connection, and connect to both the pivot tables. Then only the second graph will also change. Right? Try this, everyone. Sorry. Is this working?
Yes.
All right. Okay. With that, we are done with pivot tables. Okay. Next session, we will do macros. Okay, which is your dynamic charts and record macros and VBA coding. You guys will also get access to our online course, which has everything right from basics to VBA coding. All right. So you will get access to those video recordings so that any point of time you want to relearn, you can relearn these things. Okay. That access should get to you by next week or something like that. Okay. I think once we are done with all the sessions, we'll share the access with you. All right. In that, there is a case study file also towards the end, which is a new data set that we've not covered in this sheet. You can use this for practice. There are a few questions that are given, so you can use this for practice. And then there's a case study solution that is also given. Okay, so you can use the solution to check how to make that pivot table dashboard or how to solve these questions. Preference would be first try to solve it on your own. That is where the practice will happen. All right. Any doubts, anyone?
So this slicer thing is not available in Excel older than like 2010 or in specifically 2007.
No, 2007 it is not there. 2010 it started. Timeline came in 2016, I believe, but slicer was there in 2010.
Okay.
All right.
So if I have to update my Excel. From where can I update? Or
You will essentially have to get a licensed version. So cracked versions is very difficult to find now. Either you'll have to get a friend who has a cracked version and you need to take that, or you need to buy a license.
okay, sir.
Okay, just search for Office 365 license. I think student you can get a discount or you can get it for free or something like that also. Just check.
Okay, thank you. Sir.
Office 365 student version, just try to check. Okay. All right. Anyone who has a doubt? All right then, ciao. We'll call today. Thank you very much.
Bye, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We're there tomorrow's session is